Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. A huge welcome to everyone. Welcome to Produce, Mix, Fix and Conquer. So I'm streaming right here from the heart of Manchester. My name is Steve Beck. I'm the founder of this community and I'm also a mastering engineer. So we've got a fantastic guest coming up very shortly, which is Mr. David Gnozzi. So David is the host and CEO of MixBusTV, which a lot of you probably watch and are fully aware of. So David does amazing tutorials. Also, he reviews lots of gear, lots of plugins. So we're really going to be picking his brains about all that today. We're also going to be exploring David's amazing journey as well. So as a lot of you are aware, he is also a platinum selling engineer as well, been around for many years. And he's also an incredible educator as well. So without further ado, David, how you doing, David?
Hi, how you doing?
Really good, man. How's your week been so far?
Yeah. Hello to everyone who's joining the live stream, and thank you for having me today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, man. Thanks for joining us. It's an absolute honor. Really super excited to have a chat with you today. So how's sunny LA today? Is it sunny out there or?
Actually, it's a bit cloudy, but it's hot as hell. It's a bit cloudy. It's kind of unusual because we had like scorching hot days and sun like you would expect in Southern California. But today is a little bit cloudy. We're not complaining because that's the sun here hits really hard.
Oh man, unlike Manchester, it's just literally cloud most of the time, to be absolutely fair.
So I heard.
Oh, amazing. David, yeah, so what we're going to do to start off with, like we have with our guests over the past few months, we've absolutely been humbled and honored to interview pros like yourself. So we're going to really explore your journey initially to start off with and how you got started. So right at the beginning, when you were a kid back in Italy, whereabouts did you grow up?
What part of Italy? I was in Tuscany, near Florence.
Fantastic. And what music were your parents playing to you when you were a kid, and what music did they get you into?
My parents were never into music that much. Well, my mother a little more. My father died when I was 8, so he didn't have the chance to. But excuse me, one influential person in my family was my cousin, one of my older cousins. He's the guilty one. He's the one who introduced me to AC/DC and Ronnie James Dio and Metallica back then when I was like this big. So that was my imprint.
Oh, amazing.
I was actually a very lucky period because there were like amazing bands back then and amazing recording and everything. Looking back, I was like, okay, that was a good period to be alive and get introduced to music. After that, my mother she kind of liked music as a general idea. So when I was a kid, because I was getting in trouble a lot, I guess that's
right.
her motive. She had me take some piano lessons, which I didn't really like because, especially back then, they were teaching like classical music. And I was literally listening Metallica and Ronnie James Dio, and then I was playing classical music. I was like, it's not really my thing. So it didn't last that long. But it was good. It was good because it introduced me, even if it was unconscious at the time, to a method, studying music in a different way than just listening to your stereo. And after that, my first serious approach to music, let's say, was when I was probably 9. For my birthday, they gave me a guitar.
Oh, cool.
First electric guitar.
Yeah.
And it's funny because looking back, even if in my band I play guitar and I wrote all the parts, I was never like a good guitar player. But my focus was on the pedals. So I was like, letting a chord go, and I was like messing with all the effects and pedals. So now it makes kind of sense, looking at all the knobs behind me. I was like, okay, that was probably already a sign where that was going. But it was interesting because I was really interested in like all the effects and how I could warp the sound of this guitar, which was boring for me at the beginning.
That's so cool. So what band did you used to play in? As I understand that you ended up touring as well, if that's right.
Yeah, I was in a band that was actually signed with Universal Record, so major for 3 albums, 6 years. Horrible contract, horrible experience. And if
Oh,
if
wow.
you want, we can go into it. I got no problems. We released the first album. Went okay. We were touring the world. We were touring everywhere. We did Trash Fest in Helsinki, Dresden Festival. We were touring. We did a tour with Ansel and Gretel from New York. It was good. Unfortunately, those years we were talking about 2009, so like a life ago for me. Um, those were the shelving years
Yeah.
in which big major label sold you the dream that you're gonna be the next superstar, and what they were doing is they were buying bands that could hurt their main acts. Make sense?
It
And
does.
this is a practice that is still out there, but it changed slightly. So we can talk about that now. They don't do that anymore, but they do something very similar.
Right.
So what happened is, like I said, it was a really bad experience for 2 reasons. One, because the label didn't pay anything, and that was 2009. So you didn't really have a way to know how much CD you were selling. They had control over everything. The
Yeah.
only thing I know is that one day a friend of mine called me and told me, "Hey, I'm playing with your song on Rock Band 3, the video game that sold 63 million copies." And I was like,
Wow.
that, that's a good joke. And he told me, like, "No, I'm serious." And he showed me, and it was like these people on YouTube playing with my songs. So long story short, the 3 songs from my first album ended up in the video game, and I did not even know. So that was like, okay. So
It's
long story
crazy.
short, yeah, long story. Oh, you're glitching a lot.
Am
Okay,
I?
okay, now it's better.
Okay.
Say something.
Hello?
Okay,
Can you hear me
it was
okay?
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're
So
live.
after that, I wrote the second album, and of course I didn't want to give it to Universal again because we didn't see a dime. So, but we were under this crazy contract, and the only thing that we were able to do with lawyers was to have the label let us go. So basically, we give you the first album, we lose it basically, and then otherwise I would have tied to them for another 4 years, and everything that I wrote, or even if it was like a collaboration, was their property. But by the time that we finished the second album, which was an absolutely grueling process for me because I was doing everything. And that's why I tell people, don't do everything yourself just because you can, because I did it. And if I could go back, I would not do it again. Um, so it was a grueling process for so many reasons. And I never liked the rock star life. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do anything. I'm boring. When I'm done playing, I want to go to a hotel and sleep. And you understand that's especially in the industrial scene where I was, that's not how it works. So I was the one out of the water, so to speak, because I didn't really fit in the post-show life. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
And so I was like kind of fed up already. And then the label shit and all. And by the time of the second album came out, we were supposed to go on tour, and we had like a bunch of dates laid out already. And after I remember the first date was in Zurich. We were with Ansel and Gretel, and the second night, the day after was at the Viper Room in Vienna. So like a sold out show, and that was date 0. The first one was date 0. So they were coming from New York, we were coming from Italy, and we had all, how it works. You get to date 0 and you load the bus, and then you start going on the bus. Well, long story short, at the end of the show, we went out of the club and there was no bus because the manager, ran away with the money of the support tour. So 2 bands with like lights and amps and outfits and you name it, roadies and everything. We were like at 4 a.m. on the street. We had to be at the other venue in like 18 hours, and we had no bus. And I remember at the time I was like, I can't do this anymore, guys. I can't. But we finished those dates, and then went back home. I remember the day they TV called us for a show, and I was grocery shopping, so they called me unprepared, and it's like, hey, you're gonna be on this TV show, blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, awesome. And then I put down the phone, and I thought I had to do my makeup again and my hair again. I can't. And I called my bass player and was like, guys, I just can't. That was it. But fortunately, I had a backup plan without knowing, because I was already engineering. I've been engineering for years. Before that, I already did by then. And I wasn't promoting myself as a mix engineer or master engineer, because back then, now it's like a badge of honor if you do all yourself, right?
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't. Back then it wasn't. Like, you can be good at mixing and be a musician. You can. People just needed to put you in a box. So I was like keeping it for myself. But by then, by when that happened, I already did like big remixes for Felix the House Cat that went on chart, for Ladytron, their most popular album, Runaway. So I was like already, okay, I like the studio life better. I've always liked it better, and that's how the transition happened. Was kind of a normal evolution.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for that, David. So tell us as well, when was the first time you actually walked into a studio? So when did you get the bug for being an audio engineer?
What was the last part? Sorry.
When did you get the bug? When did you decide that that's what you want to do? The
place where we were practicing in the very, very early days of the band had a mini studio so as often happens, they had like 3 live practice room and a mini studio for people who wanted to record. And I was like already interested in that. But I think it started before. It started like, maybe most people don't know, because everybody knows me as a mix and mastering engineer, but I was a recording engineer for a long time. And I think it started then when I was trying to forge my sounds. And, you realize that what you hear in records, it's not really it's not as easy as, oh, I'm capturing my amp and that's how it's going to sound. So because I'm always a student and I science the shit out of everything. And that was okay, so how does it work? Why my amp sounds so awesome here, but if I put a mic on it, it sounds like ass, Yeah. And that's how I started. And that's what my first going in the recording room and understanding like basic signal path. And the very first try after studying on my own for like, a couple of years was in this big studio when we were recorded the first single, and with a like all analog, like, so 72 channels, old Neve, everything that you want, mains on the walls, everything. And unfortunately, while the engineer at the time was great, but just it wasn't able to get the sounds that I had in my head, especially for the guitars. And because it was the early years, so not many people were doing that, but we were like very, very tuned, like very low bass and guitars, both of them. And back then there were like few bands that were doing that low. So it was like it wasn't capturing that tone that I wanted. So after endless trial and error, I was like, hey, you know what? Let me sit at the chair. Let me try. I mean, what's the worst can happen? Nothing, right?
Sure.
And after a while, I got what I wanted, and I was like, okay, that was fun, and I got results. So hold on a second. let me do this the proper way and start studying. And when I start studying, I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm not letting go until I know everything. Who followed my channel knows. Like, you can, I don't Google shit. Like, you can ask me anything, and it's just, I have it on top of my head. My memory works, in a weird way. I go to the store and I forget what I went to the store to buy, but I can remember what components is in that unit compared to the version number B, whatever. So that was how it happened. Out of frustration, I guess.
That's so cool. I'm glad I'm not the only one, David, that goes to the store And the amount of times my other half, she tells me, she goes, "Oh, go pick this up from the store," and I forget it. But like you said, I'll suddenly think, "Oh, what speakers do I use, or what plugins am I going to use today?" And that's always top of the list, though, isn't it? At the end of the day, as an engineer.
Absolutely. There's a meme going on that made me laugh like so hard. There's the wife that tells the husband, "So let me understand, you can hear the difference between that compressor versus the other, but you cannot hear me calling from the kitchen." That's us. That's always like that's every engineer in the world.
Oh, it's so funny. I think I talked to a few engineers, and a lot of engineers have said they believe that they've got ADHD, and I think there's a lot of truth in that, maybe, really, to be fair. That's so cool, man. So tell us about some more of the projects that you worked on. So you left the band. What projects did you work on after that point when you went into the audio game full time?
Well, at that point, like I said, I was right at the end when I was leaving the band. I had these two big remixes, official remixes for Felix the House Cat and Ladytron. And so for some reason, it was like kind of backward for me because I started with two big names, but because of the ties to the band and everything. And after that, I did what many people, do and used to do back then. I just grinded and started working with local bands and everything I could get my hands on, to build portfolio, to experiment on my technique and compare and see where I was, and it was word of mouth. After a while, people listen to my work and say, "Hey, who recorded this? Who mixed this?" And you start getting more and more and more, clients, and eventually, you get some names, and that's how it for me. It really went in the slowest, but also more organic way possible. I wasn't like, this business is all about connection. It's all about who you know and who knows you. All right. And we all know that. There's no doubt about it. Like people going on charts with one beat or one song because they were sitting on the right couch at the right time. It is reality. So I didn't have any of that connection. For me, it was literally just that. And then when I started the YouTube channel, that was basically probably a way to showcase what I could do, and my skills, nothing more than that. And from there, you start working more and more. And a lot of people ask me how did you get involved with MC Solar? We want a double platinum album with him and all. And I was like, the producer just called me. I didn't know him before, and that's it. He heard my stuff and he was like, "You're the right guy for this, because we have one specific song that is going to be the flagship for the record, and it's like half hip hop and it ends with a rock part." So they were like, maybe, and you can do like both, like. So we're like, we are afraid that the hip hop guy won't make the rock part sounds, the way he should. So we did that test track, and actually they sent the same track to another big engineer, which is here in LA, which I respect so much, and no name names, but they picked me, and then we did the album and all that. But for me, it really happened organically, which is again the slowest way, but it also the one that I think gives you more satisfaction.
Absolutely, that's so cool. Thanks so much for that, man. Tell us, were you starting to go down the education route and been an educator at the same time that you're building the YouTube channel? Was that what you were doing at that point?
Well, yeah. So while in the same place that I was practicing with the band when I started, and I had my first studio there, people started to ask me if I could teach them in person. So because many of them were out of town, sometimes I did make quick videos for them to show them, like, "Hey, do this," just how to route a track or something basic like that. So that's how I started using the video media to teach. And it's funny because at the same time I was watching YouTube videos myself to like, hey, let's see what other people are doing. Let's try to find ideas or inspiration or something new, whatever. And I was so disappointed. I don't want to sound like cocky or anything. I was so disappointed because they were like the main channels were like so basic, and I was like, okay, this was like fun like 5 years ago. And then the part that made me take the step of actually doing it myself was, again, out of frustration, because I was seeing people saying, oh, you do this thing this way, and I was like, no, you fucking don't. What are you talking about? Like, you're gonna screw up a bunch of people out there if they follow your advice. And they follow your advice because you can read the comments and shit. And I was like, that's so wrong, you know? And it's funny because this is kind of not related, not many people know, but I have a bunch of friends that are big in the fitness industry, and they have big fitness YouTube channel. And they always told me, like, dude, you should open like a fitness YouTube channel, like your body and everything. I was like, no, I'm not taking my shirt off on fucking camera. Are you crazy? And but they told me how YouTube worked. And so at the beginning, I started just making videos just to like help people. Like, simply, I did not know anything about monetization, about nothing. It was just, you know, I was doing something cool in a mix. I would film it and put it out there, you know, and maybe it'll help people. Or I was seeing a video that was like, oh my God, that's so freaking wrong. You know, no, this is how it actually works. And I'm a Virgo, so I'm annoying like that. You know, just see something done right. I was like, no, let me show you. Excuse me, it's allergy. But that's how I started. And the first videos got some traction, and people were like, oh my God, thank you so much. I watched 50 videos, and this is the first time someone actually, you know, explained it so I can understand it. And that's very rewarding for me.
Yeah.
To know that you actually help people, and because I've done everything the hard way. So I know how much time you lose when you don't have a you know, someone that helps you or guides you. And it's a shame, because, you know, we should share, you know, knowledge and stuff. I always like, some engineers kind of keep secrets, and they're afraid of letting, like, dude, it's not your trick, it's not your gear, it's not your combination, it's your ear and your brain. You can't be afraid of that, you know.
Absolutely.
So it was really just that, like, to see that you are actually making a little bit of difference in someone's life, and, oh, thanks to your video, I just finished my EP or my song, you know. And from there, like, the channel got big really, like, fairly fast. Especially there was one famous video that got semi-viral for the community. And, you know, then at that point, you know, I was too far on to not follow up. And that's how it is. And then started working with companies, and, you know, they were asking me to either, you know, try their product or consult for them. And now I consult for so many companies, you know, both hardware and plugins. Like, I have boxes of stuff here from hardware companies that are not out. They won't be out for 2 years. They send them to me, and they ask me, like, hey, you know, how's the layout? What would you do? Like, a lot of people don't know, because we signed NDAs, of course. So
sure,
say anything.
Yeah.
You know, it became like another branch of audio engineering aside from the mixing and mastering. That is cool. You know, you meet a lot of people.
That's so cool, man. Thanks so much for that, David. So, you know, how you mentioned as well about education, we talk about this on our community as well, that, you know, at the end of the day, like you're saying, about people learning, but at the end of the day, it's like people have to do this stuff for themselves. They have to learn to mix for themselves, don't they? And Master, I know you've joked about this a few minutes ago before we went live, but there is no preset that is going to save your ass. You know, at the end of the day, you know, it's hard work at the end of the day, isn't it, that you need to do?
Is really hard work. And that's something that in the past 2-3 years, I think I kind of, quote unquote, fought against, because for some reason, I can't put my finger on as to why we arrived at that point. But all of a sudden, you don't need anything. You know, you don't need, and by anything, I don't need just analog gear. You don't need to invest in your knowledge, in your skills. You don't need to invest time. You don't need to invest in gear. You don't need anything. Mixing is super easy. Everything is super easy, because no, it's not. Not by any stretch of imagination. It's easy to comp a track that, you know, because let's face it, before the computer era, you needed to play an instrument, to know how to play an instrument. Even basic playing, not to suck, would require years. So is that easier now? Yeah, it's easier now, but the bar is also a lot higher. You know, so it is an incredibly hard work, especially if you do this professionally. And that's the big, argument and the big difference that I always ask people to think about. Think about context. Do you mix and master for yourself, your own music? Then everything goes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you have. Doesn't matter how long you take to mix, or master your song. But if you do this professionally, that's a whole different level. When you have clients, when your clients go out in the market and they are gonna compare your mix to the charts, how do you compare? At that point, you get with anything professional, whether you're an athlete, or you race cars or you mix, the last 1% is what makes the difference. And it's an incredibly hard work today, because on one hand, technology made some things easier, but also it gives you the possibility to do so much more than before. So it's not a matter anymore of being able to put out a basic sounding good, a basic mix that sounds good, like decent. Yeah. Now the bar is so high that, that basic mix doesn't fly. You need to really squeeze everything that computer can give you and all the possibilities that we have. And now all the innovations in hardware as well. We can automate hardware. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, 5 pieces here that I can automate an EQ on analog, and the knobs, moves by itself. I can automate the threshold of a compressor or the saturation of, and that's crazy. Like patch bays, I just got the Flock that you can patch different things without cables.
That's amazing.
This is amazing because you speed up the technical part, but that means that every engineer has the same advantage as you have, right? So it's even playing field. Now is your creativity alone that it needs to be on top and needs to be better than the other. Because everybody can do basic now, but basic doesn't fly anymore.
You're so right as well. So what are your thoughts on, so there are a lot of kids out there, or maybe even people, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, that maybe are just getting into audio a little bit later on in life. But yet they haven't got the money for loads of outboard gear, but yet they can sign up for various subscriptions with plug-in companies. But if they get a good converter, like an A to D, D to A converter, and a fairly decent pair of speakers as well, do you feel that they can still do amazing work without all the analog gear?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I made a video about this. The entire analog versus digital battle, it's so futile and stupid, because of course plugin are amazing today, absolutely amazing, and you can absolutely mix in the box. Granted that you have a monitoring system that is on par and good enough for you to be able to deliver a good product, because that's the first thing. People still probably don't understand this. The most important part in a studio is not the gear, is the monitoring system in your room.
Yeah.
And that's going to be someone say, oh, can you mix on the headphones? Yeah, you can do anything. You can kick a door or turn the knob. Both ways will get you in the room. One is wrong, So it's yeah, you can do anything, but again, are you doing this for yourself or you're doing it professionally? Yes, you can mix in the box, and on some genres, to be honest, it might be even better, I want to say, but it's not really a matter of better or worse. The thing is this: there's one fact: the plugin don't sound like hardware. Period. Otherwise, they would not come every other day with an emulation of hardware, right? You never see an analog piece of gear trying to emulate a plugin. There's a reason. But also, there are some plugins that the equivalent in analog don't exist. Oak Sound Spiff or Sooth, or even a simple dynamic EQ. They don't exist. They don't. Or effects. the amount of crazy delays and effects and reverb that you can have in a DAW, like it's insane. But will you be able to get plugins to sound like a chain of, I don't know, distressor and a Pultec into the, no, you won't. It won't sound the same. You won't. Will sound different, yeah. And better or worse is debatable. We can debate that all day. We just, I think, need to look at what's the reality. The reality is that aside from a handful, and by handful I mean you can count them on one hand, of famous engineers that mix in the box, we want to really do the number game. There's probably going to be 2 million engineers that are hybrid and or on analog. All right. So my point is always, don't take that exception as a rule, because that's when you're gonna smash your face against the wall, because that's an exception, you know. And it would be like you take a super gifted athlete that trains for 2 years and then beats a world record, right? And you start training like him. Dude, you're not him. You're not going to do it, because the previous 50 records has been done with people training for 10 years, you know. So that is kind of the point. But yes, of course, you can mix in the box. It's a matter of preference for someone. Again, if we look at the numbers, most people still prefer hardware for a reason. The point is, hardware is better at what hardware does, and plugins are better at what plugins do. You know, it's really that simple. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
You're absolutely right, man. It's like Oak Sound Soothe as well. What a plugin! That thing is insane. It's so cool. Talking about plugins as well. So obviously you've reviewed probably into the hundreds now, I would imagine. But what have been some of your favorites that have really helped your mixes and your masters over the last few years?
You talking about plugins?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Wow, there's, like you said, I'm probably in the thousands, but think of what I'm sent, and I don't review it because I got 2 hands and 2 ears. So I want to say, well, the soft to bass bundle, it's insane, and like that is one package of plugins that really blew my mind, because you know the bass hardware are digital units, so it's basically a one-to-one code. There's no transformers or anything like that that cannot be reproduced. So the possibility to have, I think that one unit or one of the bass unit is like probably in the 12 to 15 grand. So it's like crazy money. And have that in a plugin, one-to-one, basically, it was amazing. But there are so many. Give me a second. Like I'm like the poster boy of saturation. You know, my super famous video on loudness is what probably thought 70% of the people out there. So there are a bunch of saturators that came out lately that are amazing. The Abuser, I think, from Audiority is one that is like really, really cool. The Sound Toy stuff has been around forever, and it still kicks major ass. It's hard now. I should look at my Pro Tools and see if I start scrolling. But same with the reverbs, and you know, Denise Audio with Perfect Room and Dragonfire, and they have like a different approach from all the other companies. They're really making plugins that don't have an equivalent in the analog world. That's the stuff that I like. At the same time, they're Softube still making, like, for me, among the best analog emulations with their Chandler Gear plugin and all the other stuff. Console One is one piece of equipment, which is a plugin with a controller, so it fits the category, fits your question. That kind of made my workflow a lot faster. And when you're faster, you're more fresh during the process if you mix faster. So you don't get used to the things that don't work in the mix. You fix them fast and you move on, and you have more space and time for creativity. So that's one set of plugin, all of them, because I have all of them. But the console one was like really, really great. But there are so many. I'm forgetting so many, I'm sure.
There's so many. You're absolutely right. Thanks so much for that, David. As well, man, I can see them right in the back of the room. Those Eve speakers that you've got. Tell us why those Eve speakers work for you. I know that you're a massive fan of those speakers.
Yeah, I tried and I worked with basically, from the old NS stands, which I've always hated, to the rare version of the NS stands that I think were called NS40 with two woofers, so the three ways with the white cone, and not many people saw those. To the gigantic PMC, you name it, I worked with them, and yeah, these are the SC3012, so they are the biggest in the line. They're the mammoth of the line. They're 120 pounds each. You can't really see the size from the angle. They're gigantic. They have like a huge driver. They're crazy, and it's just the one thing I like about these speakers. Several things, but this is the best low end I've ever heard in my life. And not just because it's pleasant to listen to, because it translates so well. And since I started mixing with these, that's like the one thing that I got kind of known for is my low end. And if you listen to, and if you look at the comments on like my Artist Bella single throat, everybody is like, what the hell is that low end? And that's a combination of things, of course. It's also like a couple of pieces of gear that I have, and I lean on them to get that, at this point, signature low end. But if I couldn't hear it, I could have all the gear in the world. And the beauty of these speakers is that they work and they translate and they reproduce this, I don't know, perfect image at a very, very low level, which you wouldn't expect from speakers like that. You would expect you need to crank them. No, yeah. I can mix on those, and if I type on the keyboard, my typing is louder, and they still reproduce, like, go down to 50 hertz, So that's the beauty of it. And the everything, the detail, the stereo imaging, the white spot. I used to have ADAM monitors before, which have a similar technology on the tweeter, but I hated them. And I hated them because they're laser focused, so the sweet spot is right here, and if you move your head this much, you're out. That was on older models, so I don't know if something changed and everything. And I remember, because I like to make things hard for myself, I was like, no, it's not the speaker, it's me. I need to just make this work. And I grinded for like 3 years, and it wasn't me, it was the speaker. But they have the same higher technology on the tweeter, and granted that this tweeter is as big as small monitors by itself, but the sweet spot is so wide, and I can move the entire length of my desk and nothing changes. So they're really amazing for me. And like I said, I tried everything, and yeah, they're really awesome.
Awesome, man. That's so cool as well. So I know with the tweeters, I know a lot of people, those tweeters can divide opinion from time to time on loads of forums, which I'm sure you've seen over the years as well. But those tweeters sound great, wasn't it? Is it if I'm right in saying that the head and the Eve were both invented by the same guys as Adams? Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the difference now, because probably as far as for what I've seen, they changed something on ADAM. I'm not really following, but their technology is really amazing, because it gives you, first of all, one problem that I always had with the other monitor is, so this is a trend that people should be aware of, and it's not just in monitors, it's a lot in like microphones, same thing. So the brain perceives everything that is brighter as better for the first 10-15 seconds. You try this with everyone, with every track. You just put a shelf without telling them and just boost 1 dB, a 10K shelf, and you just A/B anything you want. A microphone, a compressor, a song, they will prefer the brighter one, okay? Yeah. So because of that, companies started to make like brighter monitors and brighter microphones, because, and you audition microphone, and that first impression, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, well, the problem is that you start recording with that microphone 10 times, you're going to have a super harsh track. One of the reasons because modern music started to sound so harsh is that. So many monitors, especially small monitors for me, always had the problem to be either too bright or too fast of a response on the transient and too detailed. You would think that that's a good thing. And monitors are such a personal thing that I'm sure for many people that work. But for me, the problem was always on the mid-range top end is that my mixes sounded dull when I, take them out of the studio because of that. Because no other system in the world will have that degree of detail and that degree of fast transient response. And that, the problem that I had with the previous monitors, with this doesn't happen at all. And that's when we talk about monitors, the room of course plays a role, but when we say how they translate, it's not just how flat they are. It's also things like this that many home studio people don't know or don't think about it. But the response to the transient will change the perception of the music coming out of your speakers. And when you go in the car, that response is completely different. So, that's why there are so many designs of monitors and so many speakers, because first of all, it's a personal thing. And second, because there are so many variables in a speaker and how interact with the room. These are one of the reasons I think, and I talked with Roman, but he's over my head. All the Eve speakers have a special port on the back that is different from any other speaker, okay? And to me, having experience with such a wide variety of models, I can tell you this: they feel they are as tight as a closed speaker, but they're not. They have a port on the back. So they really have the best of both worlds. They go down to hell, but they're so tight, and there's no overhyping the low end, which happens very often with smaller speakers, because that's what they have to do basically to sell the model.
Yeah.
Some companies, of course, these are gigantic, so you don't need to hype anything. And some people ask me like, hey, do you use a sub? Like you never heard my speaker, so you would not ask that question.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that, man. Tell us as well, so I can see some other speakers behind you. Is it Genelec I can see behind you as well that you use?
Those are the original first generation 1031A wood box that I hunted in the used market for a long time, because I had them, then in a stupid moment I sold them. And they are a classic for a reason. And for me, they have also a special meaning, because my favorite mix engineer, Andy Wallace, has been used them for the longest time. And I can't say more because I can't give all the secrets away. But there is a reason why you use those specific, speakers, especially when you mix rock and metal. Let's put it that way. So I hunted them. They just do the one thing extremely well. And with speakers, it's also a matter of habit. When you start knowing a model very well, everything, all the rest doesn't matter. How flat, how loud, the displacement, or what the specs say on paper. It really doesn't matter. So there's a lot of that in speakers and monitoring. It's the same as gear.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just you get a better result because you know your gear so well, and maybe that unit, that compressor, is not the best choice you could put on that vocal, but you know how to work that unit, and that's really what matters. That's why we always say it's the engineer, is not really the gear, of course. But yeah.
That's amazing. Thanks so much for that. It's really cool of you to actually mention about the Genelecs, because I was very blessed and fortunate to interview Tim Palmer a couple of months ago, and I believe, I might be wrong, but he's used the same Genelecs for the last 20 years or so. And I think, like you said, there's a good reason why. Maybe it's got that secret sauce in there as well. Someone's actually just sent through a comment through on Facebook. They've asked, do you use room correction software as well? No,
I don't, but I'm also lucky because, you know, my studio was built on specs, and I was helped by a amazing studio designer here in Los Angeles called Dave Bass. His rooms have been featured on several magazines, so he's a you know, a genius in that. Excuse me. So I'm lucky that way. And I don't know, I'm kind of skeptical on software room correction, and I know technology go on and make things better, you know, almost, you know, let's say often. But I'm still I still think, dude, all the records that I love have been mixed without room correction, and sometimes, you know, in not ideal situation, because again, it's really a matter of experience with everything. In this job, that you can't be experienced, you just can't, you know. And it doesn't matter if I sit in a perfect room, but I don't know it, and you know, I can probably work my way around because I've been doing this for a while. But if you get someone that is at the beginning, you can put it in the best room in the world, he won't do anything, you know. It's really a matter of experience. So yeah, getting to know your monitoring system and your gear, it's the key. But we talked about this even off camera. Now it's like everything needs to happen now with no effort, with no investment, and that's what I want. You know, it's like the social media era in which people are used to instant gratification. You post a picture, you get 50 likes. You know, it's like a slot machine. You put the coin in, and you just look for, you know, wait for the likes and the hearts to come up, and that's give people this dopamine rush. That's actually how, you know, a platform, social media platform work.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The little notification, the number that tells you how many hearts or likes you got, that's on purpose. And you know that if you ever notice, I digress now, but have you ever noticed there's a little delay between when you open your phone and when that number comes up, right?
Yeah.
You know that that's on purpose. That is exactly how slot machine work. You put the coin and you pull the lever and you wait. You wait to see how many you got. And then you see how many you got, you put your phone down, and after 10 minutes you play again. So
you're right.
And that's a dopamine rush, because when you win, you want to play more. And that's like, people are got used to this, you know, everything fast and easy and right now. And this is also why people buy and sell gear, or they're always, oh, do I upgrade my interface? Do I upgrade my microphone? Do I upgrade my compressor? No, probably you don't need to do that. You need to, you know, upgrade your skills, and then at some point you won't have to ask me if you have to upgrade. You will hear and understand that what you have is your bottleneck.
Yeah.
Right. And the more advanced you get, the more expensive the upgrade is going to be, because gear is expensive, and there's going to be a point in which there's diminish your return. Okay, my SPL EQ is 7.5K. It would be stupid for someone at home to buy that EQ, you know, but I do this for a living. So, you know, how much is it? Is it like 7 times better than an EQ that is, you know, $1,000? No, it's not. You can't do that, really. It's not something that it's a stupid, you know, way to measure things in this field. It's not. And like we said before, is the last 10%. Oh, it's just the last 10%. Yeah, it's what makes the difference. That is exactly what makes the difference. Because it's not really 10%. You know, it's just, it either works or it doesn't. Either you have a complete package and the song that you're listening to moves you and moves, you know, the listener, or it doesn't. And that you can quantify in, oh, the compressor added 2% and that EQ added 3%. It doesn't work that way.
You're so right as well. You know, you mentioned about social media. What amazes me about social media is I'll be talking to my other half about, I don't know, pizza or something like that, and then within about 5 minutes I'll get an advert on Facebook for pizza. You're there thinking, wow, You know, it's just crazy that we are been listened to and watched all the time as well. It's crazy.
We have no secrets anymore. That they listen to what we say all the time, and you know, it's because it's all about this. It's all about money. It's all about advertising. And advertisement now is everything because social. That's what is social media. People don't understand that social media. They are free. They're not free. If they're free, it's because you are the product.
Yeah.
That's sold to the companies that advertise their stuff, you know, to you. That's why.
It's mad, absolutely mad. Oh yeah, tell it. Well, obviously, we talk about gear acquisition syndrome for a lot of us. However, we all know that you've got a phenomenal studio and got some crazy gear in there as well, David. So just tell us about some of the pieces that you love working on in your studio.
Yeah, sure. Well, on the left bay here, I have. So my old system is based on Motu and dangerous converters. That's the core of the studio. So AVB system, top of the line, and then dangerous ADDA for capturing. We have on that side we have the 1176 from Stam Audio, the ADG, which was an absolute blast and surprise for me. I always had this love and hate with 1176s. I had two blackface, I sold them, and then later on I had a Mimas from West Audio, which is kind of a modern version of the 1176. But I sold my other two because they were collecting dust. I wasn't using them that much, to be honest. And then I got this ADG for Stam, which is 3 revisions, you know, A, D, and G. So the blue, the white, the blue stripe, the black face, and the transformers. And I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away how amazing this 1176 sound, how accurate the 3 revisions are, and you know, it just took the place on the desk, no doubt. One of my favorite, which everybody knows, I have 2 distressors and 2 fatso from Empirical Labs. I used to have more. And and it's not out of the question that I will get more, because you can't beat the distressor. It's really like arguably the #1 workhorse compressor in the history. I want to say that. And center bay, there's one of the latest piece. It's an SPL Passy Q mastering equalizer, 120 volts. Rail technology, which is a behemoth. Like, I don't even know how many units that thing is. This is Cell Fusion, which is a great centerpiece. Really, really great centerpiece, like a brilliant design unit. I use it all the time. 2 Heritage compressors for that Neve color. They're both diode bridge, the 609 and the successor, which would be the 2254, the old, you know, square that was on the consoles. They're both amazing, absolutely. It's that thick, creamy, you know, really vintage color. And diode bridge compressors, historically, they always been kind of a little bit tricky because the diode were noisy. So they managed to keep the tone and everything, but to lower the noise floor down, and they're absolutely amazing. I can give this away. Heritage is sending me their SympaQ, which everybody asked me to review it.
Nice.
They're sending it to me, so it will be on the channel. But for now, there are those. I have Drummer, the 9070, which is it has 2 pre's, but it has a dual fat compressor. So that fuzzy, you know, tone that Drummer gear have, really, really musical. Still from Drummer, I also have the stereo equalizer, the 74, and the multiband saturator and stereo widener, both multiband. That unit is so underrated, and I'm so happy because we keep the good stuff for us. But it's really amazing. It's so tricky to use and set up, but it's just nothing can do what that unit does. Nothing. And it's not something you master into, because now it seems like everybody's looking for that one piece they can put on the 2 bus. Guys, doesn't work like that, you know. But that is like really nothing can do what that multiband saturator and widener is. That the combination is so crazy. No plugin, no other hardware. You know, I have an LA2A and LA3A at the bottom. I have my 500 series rack. It didn't change much during the year. I keep an API 512 as a preamp because I don't record anymore. But if I record either my artist Bella, and we record here. A Mimas, which is the West Audio 1176 version. The Neve 542s, the tape emulators, which I probably single-handed, made them run out of stock, because since I showed everybody bought them. Everybody bought like the same, package that I had, which is the Neve 542s with the diode. So the West Audio SSL style EQ. I steal from West Audio. I have the Pultec version solid state EQ, the Prometheus, and an Elysia Expressor. On the top rack, I have another Fatso, just because you can't have enough, and an API 5500 mastering EQ, the West Audio mastering compressor, which is an absolute beast. I love it to death. The latest entry, which now you cannot get anymore because after my video sold out, and so you can get it, is the Matthew Lane spacecraft. That is one unit that made my jaw drop. Made my jaw drop. It was like, awesome. What the hell? Yeah. And me and Matt, we are friends, so we were talking about his plugins and stuff, and I knew of it. I knew of the spacecraft, but never saw it anywhere. And there's a story, for it. But he was like, I actually have it. You want it? So he sent it to me. I was like, oh my God, this thing is insane. It's so insane that if you sit someone that does not know anything about music or audio production, or mixing or mastering, you sit it in front of that unit and it just turn knobs. They're gonna go, oh my God, what is this? It's just the most crazy psychoacoustic processor I've ever used in my entire life. And they have a plugin, the Dr. MS, which is super famous. I feature it on my channel, but the hardware is it can't be level. Yeah, the difference cannot even be described. And then my monitor controller is a MC 3.1 drummer, which is one of the surprisingly enough, one of the piece of gear that changed and better my mixing more than anything, because it's got this crazy matrix, routing matrix on what to hear and what to listen to. You have aside from the band splitting at the tip of your hands, so bass, mids, and highs, you can do mid-side, and you can do mid-side and split band. So you can hear only the mono on the lows, or only the mono on the highs, or only the sides on the mids, just by pressing button. You don't have to click plugins and stuff. That, until you have it and you work 2 days with it, you cannot understand how much it gives you the capability, the ability to deeply analyze your mix in just one click of a button. So it's seriously an amazing unit. It's so well designed, So that's it sits there. It's kind of unsexy, so to speak, because it's got no zoom meters or lights. But believe me, it is absolutely a game changer. The way you can monitor just one click different parts of your mix, it just gives you a whole different perspective.
How much do they usually go for in dollars? Those
I don't know. It's very reasonably priced. I don't want to low ball it, but it's probably around. It's not more than $1,500. More likely, around 1,000 and 1,200. So definitely, and it's got 3 pairs of monitors plus a sub that you can use with all the 3 pairs if you want, which is awesome. It's got all kinds of connections. You can do Q mixes from it. It's just so well. I mean, after they made this one was the first model they made, and I work with Drummer closely. Though they are one of the companies that sell me stuff before it's out for me to test. After they did this, they had so much request that they did, I think for sure 1, maybe 2 smaller versions, and then a 7.1 version, because people in the movie industry was and in the multi-channel setup was asking for it. This is really an amazing piece of gear. Yeah, and I'm expecting now the same from Heritage. It's on its way here, and I can't talk about it because this is NDA.
Sure.
But it's a big. Let's put it this way: it's a big tube unit, like gigantic unit that nobody ever seen, yet. So that's gonna be fun. It's gonna make a lot of noise and a lot of rumor when it comes out. It will take a few months to get here, but keep an eye on it because gear nuts are gonna really go nuts about that.
That's amazing. Thanks so much for that, David. That's brilliant. Interests me as well is the fact you've got all this crazy gear in there, but yet, and it's quite inexpensive. You've still got the Behringer X Touch 1 I can see behind there as well. You know what? I think for kids, or people like starting off at university, maybe with music as well, such a useful, reasonably priced tool. It's crazy.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I'm completely unbiased on things. It's absolutely, and I know I'm a snob at all, in that sense. It's an absolutely well-built piece of gear. It's solid, sturdy. I never had a glitch. I tried and I had several one fader / transport units like this one. This one is absolutely no doubt the best. It looks cool on top of it, which is also something that we look at these things every day, but most important, it's clear to read. It has, like, when you change tracks, it's got the little display tells you which track you are. And with me, with faders, I've always had, again, kind of a weird relationship with faders. You named the Genesis your friend has. I actually worked for Neve and did a video on their Genesis console here in Los Angeles.
Cool.
To present the official video presenting like how to use that console, which took me a couple of days to get my head around. But I either have all of them, and by all of them I mean at least like 24, 32, or one. I don't do well with the banks of 8 and scroll. For me, kind of defeat the purpose of having the faders unless I have a large scale console in front of me. But I absolutely love the one because it's like super useful for automations, for transport, for anything. Like it's really well done. It's super cheap.
Absolutely. And I use one as well, and I've found that, like you said, like with the wheel as well, it's just, for my mastering work, it speeds things up so much. It's such a helpful tool, rather than going, oh, where was I in the track? And the fact that you can just quickly like whiz to 2 minutes into the track and you know where you're at. It's fantastic for that.
It is
so useful.
It is. And it's, again, very well built. And I said, like, I'm not a snob. I don't care how much a unit, is priced. If it works, it works. And I also have like the little JBL speakers, which I don't really mix with them. They're like $100, like literally $105, I think. Yeah. But it's funny because when I moved to LA and I was waiting for my studio to be done, I didn't have a studio. So I was like, at some point I mixed some things at Bob Horn room, which was nice and gave me his room and everything. But I had a lot of work, so I got these 2 monitors because I was like, going from hotel room to hotel room. And I got used to them. What we said before, I got used to them because I did so much work in a short period of time that it was either flight or fight. So I had to get the work done, and I had to get used to. I spent so much time on them, and I did such a detailed work that I got used to them, and I kept them. And sometimes, sure, I don't mix on them, but I switch for like 10 seconds from the $25,000 Eve to those? Yeah, of course I do. It just gives you a different perspective, and whatever works.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much for that, David. That's brilliant. Tell us as well, so with your artist, Bella, tell us about the project that you've been working on with her. I know you're really passionate about what's going on with her project at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, she is she is an absolute superstar, but on top of that, she's like an her story, which we'll tell later on, it's really crazy as a human being. And I think a lot of people know the story. We met at an event, and she used to act. She's been in several like TVs and movie series and stuff like that. But she didn't like that, so she wanted to do music professionally and abandon that acting world. And just, you know, the stars aligned. We met at the right time, at the right place for both of us. And I did not in any way was looking for an artist to break to the market, because it's one of the hardest things you can possibly do.
Yeah, you're right.
The only reason because I did it is because, and I started this venture is because she said hi to me. And they introduced, a common friend introduced us, and she literally just said hi. And I was like, what the hell was that sound? Like, say it again. And it was just something. And, you know, I think when people meet her in person, it translates in, you know, the music and everything and the videos, but in person is a completely different thing. It's just you're in front of this creature that sounds like a fairy, but it looks like a human being, even though it's just gorgeous. But it just, you can't, like, her voice was like, I don't know, something that I never heard before. Actually, it's not even, it is how it makes you feel. Yeah. You know, just that high. Yeah. And at the beginning I thought, and she was green at the beginning, she was just, you know, she was writing music and poems and stuff, but she never did it professionally. So she was very green. And we actually went about 6 months of trial and error and just, you know, tossing tracks. We're not there yet. That's not good enough, you know, because with her, I was like, when I decided, okay, we're doing this, I was like, just like we said before, we go all in, you know. Yeah. And at the beginning, I thought, aside from her look, which in the music, it's important, which can't lie about it, her strength was her voice, how she sounds. And even her speaking voice, like, it's so sweet if you look at the videos and interviews. That I thought was going to be her strongest point. But after working with her on her songwriting and everything, I realized, and she was writing beautiful things before, but in those few months, she started to be so proficient and just pour her soul out in the lyrics and the music. And I realized that, no, it's not going to be her voice, her stronger point, is her songwriting, is the lyrics that she writes. And you can tell now because we only have one single out. And it's funny because that single is completely different from all her discography. It's like, that is one oddball. And the reason because we released that is her project is big. People don't realize how big it is. They will, you know, but not yet because they're not supposed to. At first we thought like a marketing strategy, pure. We're not gonna hit the charts with the first single of an unknown artist. Ain't gonna happen, right? So when we were playing what is gonna be the second single, which is the main one, everybody was like receiving it so well, and just some people cried actually. But then after that, we were playing Throw, so the single that is already out, and everyone was jumping off the chair because they would not, aside whether or not you like the track, they wouldn't expect that from her. I was like, holy shit, that's cool. And they were literally jumping off the chair. And we're talking about industry people, not, you know, my buddy. So for several reasons, we had to delay the project a few months. And I was like, you know what? We need to do something with this song. You know, everybody likes it. And so I was like, let's release this first. This way, we don't really, quote unquote, care if it goes bad, because that's not her style. It's not going to be her style for the rest, you know. And let's see how people receive this one in the meantime. Guess what? We got almost 1 million views. So it's absolutely insane. She got a 16, 17 magazine after that, because she's got like this angel face. And I thought with the director about the video, and we we turn it, which is part of her anyway, into this Cenobite looking, female, and everybody absolutely loved it. And it went across several genres. You could see her single featured in metal magazines, So it was like absolutely, welcome this unexpected success. And now we are a few weeks out from releasing not only her second single, which it's going to be surprising for everyone. The video is absolutely gorgeous. The director, which is he did all the biggest industrial bands here, Tim Skold and Predatorfield and everything. And we are friends, and he's an absolute genius. We are like all a good team because me, her, and him just sit down and we come out. We feed each other with ideas. This video is like visually stunning, and I want to say allow me this because it's kind of a bragging badge. Almost, I don't want to say every, but a big portion of the pop star out there now, female pop star, they have a certain way to promote themselves, which is kind of they're all almost naked, and it's not the case here, and it will never be the case here. And I don't know, I hope it's going to be refreshing for the audience to see and hear something different. And yeah, we are a few weeks out from releasing that. And also a couple of weeks before or after, we are releasing the official remix album of Throw. And that's cool because we run the contest on the channel. And that was another unexpected, crazy success. We got almost 600 remixes, some names remixing that song. And yeah, we decided to pick the best and release an album for it. And we're going to do the same on the next single, but it's going to be a lot bigger because we were completely unprepared that people loved the song and loved to work on the song. So, so many people, we had prizes for that remix, and a lot of people say, I don't care about the prizes. Like, I just want to work on this, remixing this track. It was like so rewarding. But for the next single, we're going to do the same. And this time we are calling several known artists to do official remixes first. And then we're going to open the remix contest to everyone else. And it's going to be like super awesome. And if things goes as planned at the end of the remix contest, it's going to be like a gigantic surprise, which I wish I could talk about it because I'm so excited about it, but I can't. But yeah, with her, she really has a real chance of, getting up there. Also because it's not just her talent, which, it's all subjective, but it's also because she does not care about fame or glory or money or the music industry or the music business or anything like that. Before the single, she hates social media. And before the single, she didn't have anything out. She does not like, and for the most part, she doesn't handle her social media but she really wants to do this. She said it in several interviews to help kids. And as the story goes on, you will understand how and why. But her reasons are really different from what most people entering the music business are, which is fame, money, and glory and recognition. She does not care at all about that, and she just wants to write her music to be out, and with her lyrics to let certain people know that they're all not alone, and everything else, David, you deal with it. I don't care.
Absolutely, man. You know what I love about that story, though, David, is the fact that you got burnt years ago in the music industry, been in a band, you still kept going and obviously flourished as an amazing, incredible engineer. But the fact that you've still got that fire and that passion to see Bella actually achieve her goals and her ambition, and at the end of the day, you can mentor her and help her, on her journey as well, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's absolutely incredible, man.
Yeah, I mean, she was, to say the least, fresh, fresh hair in my life is definitely, you know, it changed a lot since, you know, we met.
That's so cool, man. Thanks so much for that, David. So before you go as well, so a couple of quick questions for you. So probably quite a hard one for you, I'd imagine, but what do you prefer, mixing or mastering, or do you love both equally?
I actually don't know, as in I'm always happy that I have to switch from one to another because I would get bored
Yeah.
to do only one or another. So yeah, I'm very lucky that I get to do both for, at this point, pretty much equally. Like 50% of my calls are for mastering, 50% for mixing, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I would not change that because I really need. I don't know. It's a similar job, but it's so different at the same time. And I feel like, so this is the thing. Mixing takes a lot out of me because I'm so detail oriented that mixing takes really a lot of energy, like a mental energy for me. Now I'm starting today, actually, the new Sean's from Street Sex EP, which is this industrial crazy band. And that's gonna be, I had to take a couple of days of adjustment for me to get into that mindset, because this is like really hardcore experimental industrial music. And I worked with them before, and the reason because he come to me again is because he wants the same from me. So it's like unconventional mixes and surprise me, do crazy shit. That's why he wants me to mix his stuff. And first of all, it's amazing that an artist, you know, comes to you for this. It's like, if you never had it, I can't really explain you how great of a feeling is. An artist that tells you, like, go, just do what you want because I like what you do, you know, and the crazier the better. So but at the same time, I know that when I'm done with this EP, it would be really hard for me to go into another mix, you know, because mixes today are like, what, 80 tracks if it's a low count.
Yeah,
so
easy.
It takes so much concentration that at the end of the day, you're kind of drained, you know. While mastering for me is more of a, I don't know, like a dessert. Like you sit and enjoy the mix, and you just, you know, do the details and tweak and take your time to do which EQ do I use for that one boost, you know, on the top end. It's a completely different and more relaxed, you know, kind of task.
Oh, I love it. You know, mastering is my thing, and I really enjoy mastering. Maybe a really good question to ask you would be, for a lot of people, you know, they sometimes don't send off their mixes to mastering engineers. So would you give it at least a day or so before mastering a mix, would you say, if you're working on your own mix and then mastering it?
So definitely a day is not enough. I would say take a few days, as many as you can. If you don't have a deadline, it shouldn't be a problem. But this is my problem with that. The artist in this case needs to keep one thing in mind. When you master your own mix, it's still you, your ears, it's still your room, it's still your monitors, and it's still your gear, and it's still your skills. So what didn't you do in mixing that you could have done that you are now doing in mastering? My fear is that unless you've done this for years and years and years professionally, in that case, you don't need my advice, is that a lot of people will probably make you worse by trying to do some processing just because they know that mastering is a stage that needs to happen before they put their song out. But why you didn't do whatever you have to do to make your mix sound the way you want it in mixing? Now, there's a note. Some processing are better done on a 2-track, on a finished mix. But those processes that they are better done on a 2-track, they are very minimal. They are details. They're not gonna change your mix that sounds like a 5 and turn it into a 10. It won't happen ever, you know. So I would advise people to keep this in mind. So if you mix your own stuff, your mastering needs to be really, really minimal. And otherwise you go back to the mix. And don't be afraid to do absolutely nothing in mastering. If not, just maybe bringing the level up to commercial level. But that's the second disclaimer. Watch it. Because let's say you have a perfect, and I did a video not long ago about this. Let's say you send me your mix and you tell me, I love my mix. I don't want you to do anything. Just bring it to level. Okay? Cool. With you. The problem, the thing that you don't know, that you hire me as a master engineer, and many people don't know, is that for me to bring your mix to a commercial level, it doesn't need to be stupid loud, like 4 LUFS. Okay? Yeah. Commercial level, like between 10 and 8. Right? Let's be realistic. 12 and 8. That process will, to some extent, change your mix. Okay, to some, which could be a little, it could be a lot, depending on the material. So I have to do some processing to make your mix still sound the same as you give me, as when you gave me, to be at that level. Okay, so this is, it might be a little like hard to comprehend, but we need to do things because the processing that we need to do as a master engineers to bring a track to level, they are destructive to some extent. And they change the balance to some extent. So we need to do some processing, even just to make sure that the mix sounds the same at that level.
Yeah.
So I would advise people that master their own stuff to start with this mindset first. All right. And then after a few days with fresh ears, if they find that there are some small details that can be improved, maybe your low end can be a little tighter or a little more, or maybe you find, hey, there's like a honkiness right there, and or the top end can be, a little better, a little brighter, or whatever. But don't expect the mastering stage, especially if you do your own mastering, which I really don't advise. If you change your mix too much, you're probably not gonna do that's probably something wrong.
Yeah,
let's put it this way.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And as well, what I've learned over the years is, and also when I've talked to many mastering engineers like yourself, it's been a mastering engineer. It's all about quality control as well. Like that's the most, from what I understand and what I've learned, that's the key to mastering as well, to start off with. And then, if you only need to put an extra 1% on there, then that's fine as well. And sometimes it might not even need it. You might just need, like you said, a bit of level. However, there is some processing that might be needed. And I always say to a client, and I know there's a big argument for this, and some engineers don't do this, but I do say to my clients, look, send through a reference as well, because there's so many fucking combinations of like how a mastering engineer can process a mix. Send me at least a rough idea where you want to go. Because I've had clients say to me before, oh, I'll leave you to do your thing. It's like, no. Give me some direction where you want it to go. It's so important. But yeah, I just love mastering. It's just great fun. I just love listening to loads of different genres. But with mastering and mixing, do you find that it's 50% mastering, 50% mixing that you're doing in your studio? Is there more one than the other, or pretty much
right now, let's say for the past 2 years, that's pretty much 50-50.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. It used to be more mixing before, but I think it's, I don't know why. Probably because my videos on mastering, they probably did have some impact on that. Because I did some very advanced mastering videos. So like people, holy shit, that's probably, I say, this guy knows what he's doing. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But yeah, lately it's definitely 50-50. Also, there's one thing to say. At this point in my career, I'm lucky enough not to have to mix or master everything that gets on my table. So I can pick and choose things. And because of Bella, like I said before, she changed a lot. Yeah. I used to really overwork my ass off in a non-healthy way, and now I'm like I said before, if I if I say yes to a mix, I know that it's gonna be like really consuming for me, because I really pour my brain, heart, and soul in mixing. I do that in mastering, but it's such a shorter, a quicker process compared to
Yeah,
an EP of 5 songs that have like 120 tracks each. You know, that I kind of and because of her, like our life together and her project, I kind of have to measure and balance how many jobs I take. So it's probably also me taking less mixing job and more mastering jobs, because they give me more freedom. Like, when I mix, because I mix analog, if I like I said, I am starting this EP, the gear is gonna be taken for days and days, and like everything is gonna be hooked up and everything's gonna be going, and recalls and pictures and shit. So it's like, it is totally cool. I absolutely love it, But the problem is, before I was literally doing it 360 days a year, and that's not healthy.
No, man, it's like really interesting as well. It's like, before you go, so what does an average day look like for you? So it's how many hours do you work a day? Obviously I know that, obviously you're, spending a lot of time with Bella now as well, like you said, and, kind of working out and keeping yourself in shape. So what does an average day look like for you?
It really varies right now because of all the various things that I'm doing. Let's say the days that I work, mix, or master, which are almost, let's say, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
I usually wake up and start. I do emails first, because companies and PR and all that, and then I start working for probably about 5 hours, the first batch, and then we usually take a break, go to the gym, and then we come back and work again. And that can be, sometimes it goes like really late. Sometimes especially if I'm mixing, one session, it can go like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
With like breaks every now and then, because again, phone calls, because emails needs to be replied in a timely fashion and all that. But it's not every day like that. And sometimes, maybe my morning is taken, and then I come back and work up until late night. So they vary a lot. And, with her and her project, we have like so many other things to do that people can't understand how 70% of a project like that, it has got nothing to do with the studio and the music.
Yeah.
But we had like photo shoot, and we need to go places, and we need to do these things. And, there's a lot of PR like that. So, but my usual work day when I'm in the studio, it's like that. It's like first part in the morning, and then a break to go to the gym, coming back and just working. That's awesome. Why, the studio needs to be comfortable, and couches and everything else, and all you need, and everything, because you basically live there, But yeah.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that, David. So before you go, thank you so much for today as well, by the way. It's been absolutely phenomenal having you on as well. It's been so cool finding out about your world and your journey as well, man.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. What's next for your journey then? So I know that obviously you've got NDA, so you can't say too much about some of the stuff, but what's next in your world?
Well, to be honest, that's it. Bella's project is what's next. And it's probably gonna be, for several years, hopefully, especially if it'll be successful.
Yeah, man.
But that's where my focus right now, our focus, because there's a whole team, up behind it. Because, like I said, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of everything invested in her and her career. And to be honest, I'm in a good place right now in my life and everything. I love what I do. I really love. So, with that being my first focus, and it takes a lot of time and everything, I also the most rewarding, because I see we're making her dream come true, and ours in the process as well. But there's really, this is a good place for me. I literally, every time I wake up, I get to play with the gear that we all love, and that's my job. It's just, that is being blessed, and that's it. And taking a couple of days off extra, you know, otherwise she's gonna yell at me. But it's healthy for me to do so. So that's really it. Her project is probably gonna be, you know, the main focus for the next few years. And there's a couple of side things that we are in discussion right now. But you know, I until they happen, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to, like, you know, I rather, you know, prove a concept first and then talk about what happened. And now we got.
That's awesome, man. David, thank you so much, though, for today, man. It's been an absolute blessing chatting to you as well. Feel free to hang out as well after we go live, so I'll hit that button in a minute. But I just want to say thank you to everyone that's watched as well today. So if you have missed the interview or the bulk of the interview, feel free to go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com / produce, mix, fix, and conquer, and our Facebook group, which David is on as well, which is facebook.com /groups / produce, mix, fix, and conquer. And as we all know, David runs a fantastic YouTube channel, which is MixBusTV as well. So head over there and check out. I don't know how many videos you've done, David. I think it's over 600 videos you've got on there.
Little short of 600. Yeah, we just passed 100,000 subscribers, and you know, YouTube sent a plaque and all. So.
Amazing. Check it out check it out. It's an amazing channel. But David, thanks again, man. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everybody that was, you know, watching the live stream, and I'll see you guys all soon.
Brilliant. Right, I'll see you in a moment then, David. Thank you. Thanks, gang.